The first zombie I ever saw was wearing a Brooks Brothers suit and had a Rolex on his wrist, which seemed unfair because I had been working minimum wage for 4 years. And the apocalypse was apparently still respecting the class system. He was pounding on my bulletproof glass at 11:47 p.m., leaving bloody handprints that were definitely going to be a pain to clean, assuming I lived long enough to care about cleaning anything ever again. Behind him, I could see approximately 500,000 people trying to flee Denver on Highway 70. And I was standing at mile marker 247 in the only gas station for 40 miles, which meant I was about to have the worst night shift of my life. My name is Silas Rowan. I am 28 years old, and 4 hours ago I was complaining about how boring my job was. Let me back up. I work nights at Rowan's Gas and Dine, which sounds like it might be a family business, but it is not. The previous owner's name was Rowan, and when he died of a heart attack at Pump 3 years ago, the corporate chain that bought the place just kept the name because changing signs costs money. I am the night shift attendant, which is a fancy way of saying I sit behind bulletproof glass from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and watch people pump gas while trying not to fall asleep. The pay is $18 an hour. The apartment above the station comes free, and the health insurance is adequate enough that I haven't bothered finding a better job. Plus, working nights means I don't have to deal with people very much, which after my parents died 6 years ago in a car accident on I-25, became my primary goal in life. The shift started normal enough. I clocked in at 9:58 p.m., 2 minutes early, like always, because being early is one of those habits the military beats into you, even if you never actually joined the military. My dad was Army, though, and some things just stick. The station was busier than usual, but not alarmingly so. October in Colorado means people are taking last-minute road trips before the snow hits, and Highway 70 is one of the main routes west. I had maybe 15 cars at the pumps when I started, which was manageable. The first weird thing happened at 9:30 p.m. while I was still upstairs in my studio apartment, microwaving some truly depressing ramen. My phone went off with that sound, the emergency broadcast alert tone that makes your spine straighten and your stomach drop, because somewhere in your lizard brain you know that sound means bad things. I almost dropped my phone trying to silence it. Emergency alert, shelter in place. Denver metro area under quarantine. Do not approach infected individuals. Avoid bite, face, scratch contact. Further instructions to follow. I read it 3 times, trying to make the words make sense. Shelter in place. Quarantine. Infected individuals. That last phrase stood out because it was the kind of careful language governments use when they don't want to cause panic, which paradoxically always causes more panic. Infected individuals. Not sick people, not patients, infected. I pulled up Twitter, which was already exploding. Videos from downtown Denver showing people running, screaming, attacking each other. Someone had posted a shaky phone video of what looked like a man biting another man's throat out in the middle of Colfax Avenue. The comments were split between "this is fake" and "holy shit, we are all going to die," which seemed like the full range of reasonable responses. My phone buzzed again. Text from Hank Morrison, who has been my regular Tuesday night customer for 4 years now. Hank drives a semi, does long-haul routes, and he is the closest thing I have to a friend, which says something depressing about my social life. But there you go, Hank. Kid, you need to leave now. Denver is fucked. I just came through. It is bad. Real bad. People eating people. Not a joke. Hank doesn't text in complete sentences. Hank uses maybe 5 words per text maximum, and half of them are abbreviations. If Hank was using periods in capital letters, this was serious. I texted back, "Faye, where are you? Asterisk Hank. Heading west on 70. Gonna stop at your place. 20 minutes out. Leave Silas." I looked around my apartment. Everything I owned fit in 2 duffel bags, had fit in 2 duffel bags since my parents died. And I learned not to get attached to things. I could pack and be gone in 5 minutes. My truck was downstairs, tank full, ready to go. Except my shift started in 28 minutes, and my manager Dave, who never answered his phone on a good day, would definitely notice if the only gas station for 40 miles was unmanned on what was apparently the night of the apocalypse also. And this sounds stupid in retrospect. I needed this job. The apartment was rent-free. The pay was okay. I had health insurance. These things mattered. Plus, I figured, how bad could it really be? Spoiler, pretty bad. I went downstairs at 9:55 p.m. and the parking lot was already chaos. Every pump was occupied. Cars were lined up 30 deep down the access road. People were honking, yelling. A woman at pump 3 was crying into her phone. A man at pump 7 was trying to fill 5 gas cans simultaneously, which is both against the rules and incredibly dangerous. But I had a feeling rules weren't going to matter much tonight. I slid into my booth behind the bulletproof glass, logged into the register, and watched the security monitors. 16 cameras covering every angle of the station. Normally, they showed me absolutely nothing interesting. Tonight, they showed me panic. Camera 1, pumps, all full. People fighting over position. Camera 2, highway entrance. Cars backed up half a mile. Camera 3, east parking lot. More cars arriving every minute. Camera 4, westbound Highway 70. Solid line of taillights disappearing into darkness. Camera 9, eastbound entrance. 3 figures stumbling toward the parking lot. Moving wrong, jerky, like broken marionettes. I leaned closer to the monitor. The 3 figures were definitely human-shaped, but the way they moved wasn't right. Too stiff, too mechanical. One of them stopped suddenly, turned its head 90 degrees to the side like it heard something, then kept walking. Okay, I said out loud to nobody. Because talking to yourself is allowed when you work alone for 8 hours. That is not normal. My intercom crackled to life, angry voice. Hey, my pump isn't working. I checked the system. Pump 4. Payment declined. Sir, your card's been declined. That's impossible. Run it again. I ran it again. Still declined. Probably his bank had flagged unusual activity. Or maybe he had maxed out his card trying to evacuate. Or maybe the financial system was already starting to collapse. Because that is what happens when civilization decides to take a day off. Still declined, sir. Do you have another form of payment? I need gas. I understand that, sir. But I cannot authorize a transaction without payment. He punched the pump, hurt his hand, which I could tell by the way he started shaking it and cursing. Then he kicked the pump, which didn't do anything except make him look foolish. I hit the button that shut off his pump remotely. The pump stopped. The digital display went dark. He stared at it for a solid 10 seconds, like he was waiting for it to change its mind. I used the intercom. Sir, you need to move your vehicle. The police aren't coming, he screamed at my window. Denver is burning. People are eating each other. And you are worried about payment. He wasn't wrong, exactly, but I also wasn't running a charity. I am sorry, sir, but without payment, I cannot authorize fuel. Please move your vehicle so other customers can use the pump. He stood there for another moment, fists clenched, looking like he was deciding whether to charge the building. The bulletproof glass would hold. I had installed it myself 3 years ago after an attempted robbery raided for .44 Magnum. But I still didn't want to test it. Finally, he got back in his car and drove off, engine sputtering because he probably had less than a gallon left. I felt bad about that for approximately 5 seconds, which was how long it took for the next crisis to start. At 10:15 p.m., Hank Semi pulled into the diesel lane. He climbed out of the cab moving faster than I had ever seen him move. which for a 55-year-old man with a bad knee was saying something. He walked straight to my window and I slid open the speak-through. "Silas, why the hell are you still here? I work here. Work doesn't matter if you are dead, kid." He looked exhausted, eyes bloodshot, 3-day stubble, hands shaking slightly. Hank's hands never shook. What is actually happening in Denver? He rubbed his face, and for the first time since I had known him, Hank looked old. "I don't know, man. I was in Aurora picking up a load around 7 p.m. Started hearing sirens. Lots of sirens. Then people started running. I saw a guy bite a woman at a rest stop. Just bit her, like he was an animal. Took a chunk out of her arm. She ran off screaming. 10 minutes later I saw her again, and she was biting someone else." "Zombies," I said. "I don't know what they are, but they are spreading fast. 3 hours ago it was isolated incidents. Now," he gestured at the highway, "this is everyone who had a car and enough sense to run." I looked at the monitors. The line of cars stretched as far as the cameras could see. Thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands, all heading west. Where are they going? Grand Junction. National Guard is setting up a safe zone, but they are closing the perimeter at 6 a.m. Anyone who doesn't make it by then is stuck outside. I did the math. Mile 247 to mile 300 where Grand Junction started. 53 miles. Normally 45 minutes. In this traffic 4 or 5 hours minimum. That is going to be close for a lot of people. Yeah. Hank pulled out his wallet, handed me a business card through the slot. "My brother Douglas has a ranch outside Grand Junction. If you make it out, call him. Tell him I sent you." I took the card. "Douglas Morrison, Triple M Ranch. You are not staying. I am leaving right now. I got a daughter in California. Haven't seen her in 3 years. If the world's ending, I am not dying in Colorado." He started to walk back to his truck, then stopped, turned around. "Silas, you cannot save everyone. Don't die trying." I wanted to tell him I wasn't planning on saving anyone, that I was just going to keep the pumps running until my shift ended, and then drive west like everyone else. But he was already climbing back into his cab. His engine roared to life, and I watched on the monitors as he merged into the westbound traffic and disappeared. That was the last time I saw Hank Morrison, and I wish I had said something better than okay. The next hour was a blur of transactions. Pump 1 $87.34. Pump 2 $124.67. Pump 3 $93.21. Pump 4 declined. Pump 5 $156.89. People were maxing out their cards, paying cash, screaming at me when payments. The register overflowed with 20s and 50s. The credit card system crashed twice, and I had to reboot it. On camera 9, more of those figures appeared, moving wrong. 5 of them now. Then 7, getting closer to the parking lot. At 11:15 p.m., a man in a Honda Civic pulled up to pump 2. Mid-40s, business casual, looked normal enough. He walked to my door and knocked. I hit the intercom. "Pumps are outside, sir. I need to use the bathroom." "Bathroom's closed." This was a lie. The bathroom worked fine. I just didn't want to let anyone inside, please. "I have been driving for 3 hours. I looked at him through the camera. He was sweating despite the cool October night, pale, shaking. Every instinct I had said, don't open that door. But he also looked genuinely sick, and I am not completely heartless. "Make it quick," I said and buzzed him in. He stumbled through the door and headed straight for the bathroom in the back. I locked the entrance behind him and went back to the register. 2 minutes passed. Then 5, then 10. On the monitors, I watched more cars arrive. More infected figures gathering near the east entrance. 8 now. Then 10. At 15 minutes, I walked to the bathroom door and knocked. "Sir, you okay?" No answer. I knocked again. Louder. "Sir, I need you to respond, or I am calling an ambulance." A sound came from inside. Low, wet, like someone trying to talk through a mouthful of mud. I stepped back from the door. My phone was already in my hand, dialing 911. The call failed. Tried again. Still failed. The cell networks were probably overloaded, or maybe they were already down, which meant I was truly alone out here. From inside the bathroom came a crash. Something hitting the wall. Then the sound of ceramic breaking. Probably the toilet tank lid, and then another crash. "Sir, I am coming in," I said. But I was already unlocking the door with my master key. Already pushing it open. Already realizing this was a mistake. The man was standing in the middle of the bathroom facing the wall, not moving. Just standing there. I could see his reflection in the mirror. His eyes were white, completely white. No iris, no pupil, just white. His mouth was open, and there was blood on his teeth, on his lips, dripping down his chin. The toilet was shattered. He had broken it with his hands, which were also bleeding. "Sir." He turned slowly, mechanically. His head rotated first, then his shoulders, then his whole body moving like he was on a turntable. His eyes focused on me, or tried to. I am not sure he was actually seeing me. Those white eyes just stared. He took a step forward. I slammed the door, locked it, backed away. A second later, he hit the door from the inside, hard enough to rattle the frame. Then again, steady, mechanical, like a machine. I stood there in the hallway, staring at the bathroom door shaking in its frame. And I thought very clearly and very calmly, I am so completely fucked. Here is what I knew at that moment. A man had gone into my bathroom normal and come out a zombie. There were at least 10 more outside. 500,000 people were trying to evacuate past my gas station. I was alone. The phones didn't work. Help wasn't coming, and my shift didn't end for another 6.5 hours. I went back to my booth, Saturday down, looked at the monitors. The infected outside had grown to 12. They were spreading out across the parking lot, getting closer to the pumps. A woman at pump 5 saw one of them and screamed, dropped her gas nozzle and ran to her car. The nozzle was still pumping gas onto the pavement. I shut off pump 5 remotely and made an announcement over the intercom. "Attention, all customers. Please stay in your vehicles. Do not approach anyone on foot. Pump your gas and proceed west immediately." Nobody listened. Nobody ever listens. My phone buzzed. Text from Dave, my manager. "Dave's station still open?" I laughed. Actually laughed. Because what else was I supposed to do? I texted back, "Faye currently under siege by zombies. Also, someone's in the bathroom and will not leave." 3 minutes passed. Then, "Dave, lock everything. Don't let anyone inside. I will call you when this is over." I stared at that text. When this is over. Like this was a rainstorm. Like we would all go back to normal in a couple days. I texted Faye, "What do I do about the bathroom?" Asterisk, no response. I locked the front entrance. Put up the prepay only. No entry sign. Went back to watching the monitors. The infected were up to 15 now. 20. They were converging on the station from the east, drawn by the lights and the noise and the thousands of potential meals driving past. At 11:47 p.m., the man in the Brooks Brothers suit reached my window and started pounding on the glass. At 12 a.m. midnight, the witching hour, I counted 43 infected in the parking lot. And that is when I saw the family running for their lives. Camera 9 showed them. 4 people. A man carrying a small child. A woman holding an older child's hand. Behind them, 3 infected were running. Not walking, not shuffling like movie zombies, running at full sprint like Olympic athletes, which was absolutely terrifying. Because it meant these things weren't slow, weren't stupid, and weren't going to be easy to avoid. The family reached the parking lot. The father looked around wildly, saw the gas station, changed direction mid-stride and ran toward my door. I watched on camera 3 as they crossed the parking lot. The infected were gaining. 20 feet behind. 15, 10. They reached my door and started pounding on the glass. "Please," the father screamed. "Please let us in." I was already there. Hand on the lock. Having that very quick internal conversation you have when you are about to make a decision that might kill you. Opening this door meant risking everything. I had been safe for 3 hours behind bulletproof glass alone. Secure. If I opened this door, I was inviting chaos inside. But I was also watching 4 people about to die. 2 of them children. And I had spent 6 years after my parents' accident wondering if the people who stopped to help them had hesitated like this. Wondering if someone had driven past. Wondered if they should get involved. My dad used to say that character is what you do when nobody's watching, but I think that is wrong. Character is what you do when everyone's watching and you still choose right, even though it would be easier not to. I unlocked the door. The family rushed in. Father first, carrying a boy who couldn't have been more than 5. Then the mother, pulling a girl maybe 8. The 3 infected were 5 feet away. I slammed the door. One of them got a hand in the frame. I slammed again. The hand didn't budge. I slammed a 3rd time, putting all my weight into it, and felt bone crack. The hand severed at the wrist and fell to the floor, still twitching. I kicked it away, which was probably the most disgusting thing I had done all night, and turned the deadbolt. The 3 infected hit the glass, pounding, screaming. Their mouths were open, and I could see blood on their teeth. See the absolutely empty hunger in those white eyes. But the glass held. The glass would hold. It had to hold. I turned to look at the family. They were on the floor in a heap, all 4 of them, crying and gasping and holding each other. The father was trying to cover his son's eyes. The mother was whispering something to her daughter that I couldn't hear. Both kids were sobbing. "Are any of you bitten?" I asked. They froze. "I need to see." Now, the father stood up slowly, still holding his son. He pulled up his sleeves, clean, lifted his shirt, clean, turned around, nothing. The mother did the same, clean. "The kids," I said. The boy held out his arms, tiny, trembling. "No marks." The girl showed me hers, also clean. "Okay," I said, "you are safe for now." The father looked at me like I had just told him he had won the lottery. "Thank you, God, thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We are still trapped in a gas station surrounded by zombies. Better than being outside." "Fair point." The mother spoke for the first time. Her voice was hoarse, like she had been screaming. "Do you have water?" I pointed to the cooler in the corner. "Help yourself." She grabbed 4 bottles and passed them out. All 4 of them drank like they had been wandering in the desert. The boy finished his in maybe 10 seconds and immediately started crying again. "It is okay, buddy," the father said. But his voice cracked on the last word. I gave them a minute to collect themselves while I watched the monitors. The infected outside had grown to 30, 40. They were spreading across the parking lot, getting closer to the active pumps. People were starting to notice. On camera 6, a man saw one approaching and abandoned his car mid-fill, just left it there and ran. The father walked over to me. "I am Craig Thompson. This is my wife Amanda, our daughter Lily, our son Ethan." I shook his hand, which seemed absurdly formal given that there were zombies outside, and the world was ending. But social norms die hard apparently. Silas Rowan, you work here? Night shift, 10 to 6. Though I am thinking I might not make it to 6. He almost smiled. What time is it now? 12:15 a.m. So 5 hours and 45 minutes to go, give or take. Amanda joined us, still holding both kids. Up close, I could see she had blood on her jacket. Is that yours? I asked. She looked down like she had forgotten it was there. Number, we saw a man get attacked. We tried to help, but she didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Where were you when this started, Denver? Craig said. I work for a tech company downtown. We got the emergency alert around 7 p.m. By the time I got to my car, the streets were already chaos. Took me an hour to get to Amanda's parents' house to pick up the kids. We have been trying to get out ever since, Amanda added. Traffic was terrible. We ran out of gas a mile back. Had to run the rest of the way. I looked at Lily and Ethan, both still in their pajamas. Lily was wearing a unicorn nightgown. Ethan was clutching a stuffed dinosaur like his life depended on it, which given the circumstances might actually be true. You kids okay? I asked. Lily nodded. She had dark eyes that were way too serious for an 8-year-old. Are those zombies? Yeah, like in the movies. Sort of, except these ones run. That is scary. Yeah, it is. Ethan didn't say anything, just held his dinosaur tighter. Craig walked to the window and looked out at the infected pounding on the glass. How long will this hold? The glass indefinitely, probably. It is rated for .44 Magnum. I installed it myself after we had an attempted robbery 3 years ago. So we are safe. I gestured at the monitors. As long as we stay inside. Yeah, but more of them keep coming. Camera 9 shows at least a dozen more approaching from Denver. They are being drawn here by the lights, the noise, all the people. Can we turn off the lights? Sure. If you want to cause a panic and get everyone killed in the stampede, right now people don't fully realize what is happening. They are pumping gas and moving on. If I shut down the station, they will know something's wrong. Then everyone starts running. Cars crash, people die. Amanda sat down against the wall, pulling both kids with her. So what do? We wait. My shift ends at 6 a.m. We stay alive until then. We get in my truck. We drive west to where? Grand Junction National Guard is setting up a safe zone. Perimeter closes at 6 a.m. though, so we had need to leave right at 6 to make it. That is 5.5 hours from now, Craig said. Yeah, a lot can happen in 5.5 hours. Yeah, we sat in silence for a minute, listening to the infected pound on the glass, listening to cars at the pumps, listening to the bathroom door still shaking as the zombie inside tried to get out. There is someone in your bathroom, Craig observed. Yeah, infected turned. While I was working, I locked him in there. That is good thinking. Thanks. More silence. Then Lily spoke up. What about all the people outside, the ones at the gas pumps? I looked at her. Those dark, serious eyes. What about them? They don't know about the zombies. Shouldn't we warn them? If I warn them, they will panic. Panic kills more people than zombies. But if we don't warn them, the zombies will get them. She had a point. A good point. An 8-year-old had just identified the exact moral dilemma I had been avoiding thinking about. Lily, Amanda said gently, we cannot save everyone. Why not? That question, that simple, devastating question that only children ask because adults have learned not to. I looked at the monitors, at the hundreds of cars, at the infected spreading across the parking lot, at the people pumping gas who had no idea what was coming. Because there is not enough time, I said. Because there is too many of them. Because we are 4 people and they are hundreds. Because survival is math and the math doesn't work. Lily looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "That is sad." "Yeah," I agreed. "It really is." Craig put a hand on my shoulder. "You saved us. That is enough." But I could tell from his voice he didn't believe it any more than I did. At 1 a.m., I gave the family blankets from my storage room. They were thin and scratchy, the kind of cheap blankets gas stations buy in bulk. But they were better than nothing. Ethan fell asleep almost immediately, curled up on the floor with his dinosaur. Lily tried to stay awake, but her eyes kept drifting closed. Amanda sat against the wall holding both kids, and within 20 minutes all three of them were out. Craig and I sat at the register, watching the monitors. The infected numbered 65 now. They had spread out across the entire parking lot. Some were near the pumps. Some were wandering aimlessly. One was just standing completely still, staring at nothing, which was somehow more unsettling than the ones that were moving. "They are waiting for something," Craig said. "What makes you say that? Look at them. They are not randomly attacking. They are positioning themselves. Like they are hunting." I looked closer. He was right. The infected weren't bunched together. They were spread out in a loose perimeter around the station, watching, waiting. "That is smart," I said. "Yeah, which is terrifying, because zombies aren't supposed to be smart. Everything I know about zombies comes from movies, and apparently movies are wrong about basically everything." "They are wrong about the running," Craig agreed. "Very wrong about the running." We watched in silence for another minute. Then I asked, "What do you do for work?" "I mean, electrical engineer, tech company. We make software for power grid optimization." That sounds important, it was. Now it is probably irrelevant. Engineering is never irrelevant, especially in a crisis. He smiled, tired. "Maybe, what about you?" "I was in engineering school, Q Boulder. Dropped out after 2 years. Why?" "My parents died. Car accident. Couldn't afford tuition after that. Student loans, no scholarship, no family to help. So I dropped out, got this job, been here ever since." "I am sorry about your parents. It was 6 years ago. Still sorry." I appreciated that he didn't try to make it better. Didn't say something useless like they are in a better place or everything happens for a reason. He just acknowledged it and moved on. "You got any family?" he asked. "Number, only child. Parents are dead. No aunts, uncles, cousins I am in touch with." "That must be lonely." I shrugged. "You get used to it." "What about you?" "My parents are in Florida. Been trying to call them since this started. But the cell networks are down. Amanda's parents were in Denver. We were supposed to pick them up, but he didn't finish." I understood what he meant. "I am sorry. Yeah." More silence. Outside, more infected kept arriving. I was up to 78 on the count, and those were just the ones visible on the cameras. "God knows how many more were in the shadows, Craig," I said. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. You have engineering experience, right?" "Yeah. Electrical systems mainly, circuit design, power distribution, that kind of thing." "You ever do any demolition work?" He turned to look at me. "Why?" "Because I have an idea, and it is either brilliant or completely insane. And I need someone to tell me which." I pulled up the gas station schematics on my computer, blueprints I had downloaded years ago when I was trying to fix a leak in the underground storage tanks. "The pumps are connected to 3 underground tanks," I explained, pointing. "Each tank holds 10,000 gallons. They are buried 12 feet down, reinforced steel, connected to the pumps with pipes that run through concrete conduits." Craig leaned in, studying the schematic. "Okay, if we rigged the pumps to vent gas all at once, we could create a fuel air cloud. Then if we ignited it, you want to blow up the gas station. I want to clear the infected. Give the evacuees a fighting chance. Buy ourselves time to escape. He was quiet for a long moment, still studying the schematic. Then he said, the explosion would be massive. Everything within 100 feet would burn. The building is concrete and steel. We would be safe inside. Probably safe. Maybe 70% safe. Better odds than we have now. He sat back, rubbing his face. You are seriously considering this. I am seriously considering this. It is insane. Is it brilliant, though? It might be both. Craig studied the schematic for another minute, then started pulling up calculations on a piece of paper. Blast radius, fuel density, ignition temperature. He worked in silence for 10 minutes, while I watched the infected outside grow to 85. Finally, he looked up. It could work. We had need to modify the pump safety valves to allow maximum gas flow. Set up remote ignition. Probably use spark plugs wired to a battery. Give ourselves enough time to get clear before detonation. Can we do it? I have done demo work before. In college, paid for my textbooks. But that was controlled demolition of empty buildings. Not turning a gas station into a bomb while surrounded by zombies. So that is a maybe. That is a maybe. I looked at the monitors. 90 infected now. They were getting bolder. Closer to the pumps. Closer to the people. Sooner or later, someone was going to get attacked right here in my parking lot. And then all hell would break loose. We should do it, I said. You are sure? Number. But I am going to do it anyway. Craig smiled. Actually smiled. That is the spirit we spent the next hour planning. Craig sketched out the modifications we had need to make. I pulled together tools from my maintenance room. Wire strippers, electrical tape, spare parts, a car battery from an abandoned vehicle, spark plugs from an old lawn mower I had been meaning to fix. At 2 a.m., Amanda woke up. What are you guys doing? Building a bomb, Craig said casually. Excuse me. We are going to blow up the gas station, clear the infected, give ourselves a chance to escape. She stared at him, then at me, then back at him. Is he serious? Unfortunately, yes, I said. This is insane. Brilliant or insane, Craig corrected. We are still not sure which. Both, Amanda decided. Definitely both. But she didn't try to stop us, which I appreciated. Instead, she checked on the kids, made sure they were still asleep, then came back to help. I am a nurse, she explained, nurse. So if this blows up in our faces, at least I can treat the burns. That is comforting, I said. I try at 2:30 a.m. Craig and I went outside. This was the dangerous part. The infected were still concentrated on the east side of the building. But we needed to access pumps 1 through 8 on the west side, which meant crossing approximately 30 feet of open parking lot with 90 zombies within visual range. We waited until most of them were looking the other way. Then we ran. I have never been a fast runner. I am tall and lanky and my coordination is questionable at best. But fear is an excellent motivator. And I discovered that night that I could run much faster than I thought, when the alternative was being eaten alive. We reached pump 1 without incident. Craig dropped to the ground and crawled underneath while I stood watch with a crowbar I had grabbed from the maintenance room. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. Talk to me, I whispered. I am disconnecting the safety valve, Craig whispered back. This is going to vent gas directly when we trigger it. Hand me the wrench. I handed him a wrench. He worked in silence for maybe 3 minutes, then crawled out. Done. 7 more to go. We moved to pump 2. Same procedure. Craig under the pump, me watching for infected. The nearest one was about 40 feet away, facing the wrong direction. Pump 3. Pump 4. My hands were shaking now. Not from cold, from adrenaline, from the absolute certainty that at any moment, one of those things was going to notice us, and we would be dead. At pump 5, one of them turned. It was maybe 50 feet away, standing near the east entrance. It turned its head in that mechanical way they do, like it heard something. Those white eyes scanned the parking lot. I froze, didn't breathe, didn't move. The infected tilted its head, took a step toward us, then stopped, turned away. Kept walking. I exhaled slowly and tapped Craig's leg. We need to hurry. I am hurrying. Pump 6, pump 7. The eastern sky was starting to lighten. Not sunrise yet, but that pre-dawn glow that means morning is coming. We had maybe 2 hours of darkness left. At pump 8, the last one, Craig finished the modifications and crawled out. We ran back to the building, made it inside. Locked the door. Amanda looked up from where she was sitting with the kids. Everything okay? Define okay, I said. Craig was already at the computer, wiring together the remote detonator. He had modified a garage door opener, connected it to the car battery, rigged it to send a signal to the spark plugs we had installed under each pump. This should work, he said, sounding like he was trying to convince himself. When you press the button, all 8 pumps vent gas simultaneously. The gas vaporizes, creates a cloud. About 30 seconds later, the spark plugs ignite. Boom, and we will be safe in here. Probably. That is not reassuring. It is the best I can do. Fair enough. At 3 a.m., I made coffee. This sounds insane, but we had 3.5 hours until we could detonate, and I needed something to do with my hands besides worry. The coffee maker was ancient and temperamental, but it worked. And 10 minutes later, I was drinking the worst coffee of my life, while watching the monitors show a growing horde of infected. 112 of them now, more arriving every few minutes. Craig joined me with his own cup of terrible coffee. This is awful. Yeah, but it is coffee. Yeah, we stood there drinking awful coffee and watching the world end on 16 security monitors. And I thought about how surreal it all was. 6 hours ago, my biggest concern was whether the credit card system would crash again. Now I was planning to blow up a gas station while surrounded by zombies. You think we will make it? I asked. To Grand Junction? To anywhere? Craig considered this while drinking his coffee. I think we have a chance. Not a great chance. Maybe 30–40%. But a chance that is better than zero. Yeah. Lily woke up around 3:30 a.m. She walked over to us, rubbing her eyes, still holding her stuffed unicorn. What are you doing? Drinking coffee and contemplating our mortality, I said. She considered this. Can I have some juice? I found her a juice box from the cooler. She drank it while sitting on the counter, legs swinging, watching the monitors with us. There is a lot of zombies, she observed. Yeah. Are you scared? Yeah, me too. We sat in companionable silence. Then Lily asked, Why do you work here? At the gas station. Yeah, do you like it? I thought about how to answer that. Number, I don't like it, but it is easy, and it pays okay, and I don't have to deal with people very much. Don't you get lonely? Right to the heart of it. Kids always do that. Yeah. Sometimes. Why don't you make friends? That is complicated. Is it because of your parents? I looked at her. How do you know about my parents? I heard you talking to my dad. I am sorry they died. Thanks. My grandparents died tonight. My mom's parents. We were supposed to get them, but there were too many zombies. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, I am sorry. It is okay. Dad says sorry doesn't fix anything, but it is nice to hear anyway. Your dad's a smart man. Yeah, he is the best. Ethan woke up crying around 4 a.m. Amanda held him while he sobbed into her shoulder, and I realized he probably didn't fully understand what was happening. He was 5. Yesterday, his biggest worry was probably whether he got dessert after dinner. Today, he was running from zombies. Craig found some crackers in my storage room and gave them to the kids. They ate quietly, sitting on the floor. And I thought about how resilient children are, how they can adapt to anything. At 4:30 a.m., the last customer pulled away from pump 8. For the first time since my shift started, all the pumps were empty. I looked at Craig. "It is time." He nodded. The infected outside numbered 137. They would completely surrounded the building. Some were pounding on the glass. Others were just standing there, waiting. I grabbed the intercom microphone. This was the part I had been dreading. Warning people meant causing panic. Not warning them meant people died. There was no good choice. I made the announcement. "Attention all vehicles. This is an emergency. Infected individuals are in the parking lot. I need everyone to move west immediately. You have 2 minutes to clear the area. I repeat, you have 2 minutes. Go now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then someone saw one of the infected started screaming. That triggered a chain reaction. Suddenly, everyone was screaming, running, jumping in their cars. Chaos. Cars crashed into each other trying to get out. One SUV clipped another car, spun out, hit a pump. People were abandoning their vehicles and running on foot. The infected noticed, started chasing. On camera 3, I watched a man trip and fall. 2 infected grabbed him. He was still screaming when the camera angle changed. "Silas," Amanda said quietly. "We have to do this now." She was right. More infected were arriving, drawn by the screaming. I counted 150, 160. But there were still people at the pumps. At pump 3, a woman was frozen next to her car. Terror had locked her in place. She was just standing there while infected closed in from both sides. "Move," I screamed into the intercom. "Move now." She didn't move. 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. Then she ran. Finally jumped in her car and floored it, nearly hitting another car in her panic. At pump 6, a man was still trying to top off his tank, squeezing every last drop. An infected was 10 feet behind him. Craig put his hand on my shoulder. "Silas, we cannot wait." "Look," he pointed at camera 9. More infected were coming. Hundreds of them pouring out of the darkness like a flood. "If we don't do this now, we are dead," Craig said. He was right. I knew he was right. But there were still people out there. Not many, maybe 5 or 6. But they were still people. The man at pump 6 finally noticed the infected behind him, dropped the nozzle and ran. The woman at pump 3 was driving away. The parking lot was clearing. It wasn't perfect. There were probably still a few people out there. But it was as good as it was going to get. I looked at Craig. He held up the remote detonator, the modified garage door opener with a red button. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Number do it anyway." He pressed the button. For about 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then I heard it, a hissing sound. Gas venting from all 8 pumps simultaneously, rising into the air, creating a cloud. The infected noticed. They stopped, turned toward the sound, started moving toward the pumps. Perfect. I counted in my head. Craig had said 30 seconds from vent to ignition. 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The world exploded. 8 pumps detonated simultaneously. Fire bloomed outward in every direction, orange and yellow and white. The heat was immediate and intense, like opening an oven door directly into your face. The shock wave hit the building and everything shook. Ceiling tiles fell. The windows rattled but held. I grabbed the counter to stay standing. Lily screamed. Ethan started crying. Amanda pulled them both close, covering them with her body. Craig and I watched the monitors. Fire everywhere. The infected were burning. They were still moving, still trying to run. But fire is democratic. It doesn't care if you are alive or dead or somewhere in between. The ones closest to the pumps were completely engulfed. The ones further out were catching fire from the heat alone. The screaming was terrible. It burned for 3 minutes straight. The flames were so bright the cameras couldn't compensate properly. Everything was white, then orange, then black smoke. When it finally cleared enough to see, I started counting infected. 0 in the immediate blast radius. 5 stumbling around on the edges, on fire but still moving. 3 more further out, but the main horde, the 160 that had been surrounding us, were gone. Ash, smoke, charred remains that didn't move. The parking lot looked like a war zone. The pumps were completely destroyed, twisted metal, melted plastic, scorched concrete. The entire east side of my building was blackened. The west side had survived mostly intact, but barely. Holy shit, I said. Yeah, Craig agreed. Outside, cars had stopped on the highway. People were staring at the fire. Some were taking photos. Nobody was moving. I grabbed the intercom. The infected are clear. Keep moving west. It is safe. Go now. Slowly, cars started moving again. The line resumed. People who had stopped to watch got back in their vehicles and drove on. We had done it. We would actually done it. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The sheer absurdity of it. I had just blown up my workplace, my home, everything I owned. And I was laughing. Craig started laughing too. Then Amanda. Even the kids started giggling, probably because the adults were acting weird. We stood there in the ruins of a gas station, laughing while the world burned. And for just a moment it felt like maybe we were going to be okay. Then I looked at my watch. 5:12 a.m., 48 minutes until my shift ended. 48 minutes until we needed to leave to reach Grand Junction before the perimeter closed. I stopped laughing. We need to go, I said. Now, we moved fast. I grabbed my go bag from the office, 2 duffel bags containing everything I owned. Clothes, photos of my parents, my dad's watch, engineering textbooks I had kept from college. Craig grabbed Amanda and the kids. We headed for the back door. My truck was parked behind the building. 1998 Ford F-150, rusted to hell but reliable. I had bought it 4 years ago for $3,000 cash, and it had never let me down. We loaded into the truck, Craig in front with me, Amanda and the kids in the back seat. Everyone buckled in. I turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, caught. "Thank you," I said to the truck. "Please don't die now." I pulled out onto Highway 70 westbound. The traffic was lighter than it had been earlier. Most of the evacuation had already passed. We joined the flow heading west toward Grand Junction. Mile 248, mile 249, mile 250. We were doing it. We were getting away. Then Lily spoke up from the back seat. "Stop." "What?" Amanda asked. "Stop the truck." I looked in the rearview mirror. "Lily, we cannot stop. We have to. There are people out there who need help." I looked ahead. She was right. Cars were stopped on the highway, dead, out of gas. People were sitting on hoods, standing by the road, waiting, hoping, dying slowly. "We don't have enough gas to help them." "Sweetheart," Amanda said gently, "but they will die if they stay here. We cannot save everyone. Why not?" There it was again. That question. Craig turned to look at me. Didn't say anything. Just looked. I stared ahead at the highway, at the stranded cars, at the people. I had 43 minutes to reach Grand Junction, 53 miles to go. In good conditions, no problem. In this traffic with stops, maybe impossible. If I stopped to help, we might not make it. We might get stuck outside the perimeter. We might die. If I didn't stop, those people would definitely die. Math said keep driving, but Lily was asking why not, and I didn't have a good answer. Actually, I had plenty of good answers. Not enough time, not enough resources, not my responsibility. I had already saved them once. I had done my part, but none of those answers sounded right when I tried to say them out loud. I thought about Hank saying you cannot save everyone. Don't die trying. I thought about my dad's watch in my bag. The one he wore every day until the day he died. I thought about the paramedic who stayed on the phone with me while I drove to the hospital to say goodbye to my parents. Who didn't have to do that? Who did it anyway? Someone helps. That is how it works. I slowed the truck, pulled over to the shoulder. What are you doing? Amanda asked. I looked at Craig. How many cars can you hot wire in 40 minutes? He blinked. What? How many? I don't know. 5. Maybe 6. I looked at Amanda. How many injured can you treat? That depends on ballpark. Maybe a dozen with minor injuries. 2 or 3 serious. I looked at Lily. You want to help people? She nodded. Okay, let's help people. I pulled the truck around and drove back toward the first stranded car, mile 251, Honda Accord. Family of 4. I pulled up next to them, rolled down my window. You folks need help? The father looked at me like I had asked if the sky was blue. We ran out of gas, Craig. Can you hot wire this? Craig was already getting out. 2015 Accord? Yeah, 5 minutes. While Craig worked on the car, I talked to the family, gave them water bottles from my truck, granola bars. They were from Denver, had been trying to evacuate for 6 hours. Ran out of gas just past my station. Where are you headed? I asked. Grand Junction. The safe zone, us too. Stay close when you get this car running. We will get you there. Craig got the engine started. The father stared at the dashboard like it was a miracle. How do I thank you? Don't just drive. Mile 252 Chevy Tahoe. Flat tire. No spare. The driver was a woman in her 60s wearing a bathrobe and slippers. She was standing next to her car looking at the flat tire like it had personally offended her. I pulled over. You need help, madam. Does it look like I need help? I have got a flat tire. I am wearing a bathrobe at 6 in the morning. And Denver is apparently being eaten by zombies. So yes, I could use some help. I liked her immediately. You got a spare? If I had a spare, would I be standing here in my bathrobe? Fair point. I have got a spare in my truck. We can change it for you. She looked at me suspiciously. Why would you help me? Because standing here arguing wastes time we don't have. She considered this. That is fair. Okay, but I am watching you. I have got mace. Noted. Craig and I changed her tire in 3 minutes. She watched the entire time, clutching a can of mace, ready to deploy it if we tried anything suspicious. When we finished, I wiped my hands on my jeans. All set. You should follow us. We are heading to Grand Junction. I am Connie, she said. Connie Morrison. And thank you. Even though I am still not entirely sure you are not serial killers. We are not serial killers. That is exactly what a serial killer would say. I couldn't argue with that logic. Connie got in her Tahoe and followed us. Mile 253. Minivan. Dead battery. Craig jumped it. Engine started. Stay close. They stayed close. Mile 254. School bus. I almost drove past. A school bus seemed too big, too complicated, too much. But then I saw the people inside 30, maybe 40, sitting in the seats waiting. I pulled over. The bus driver was an older man, maybe 60. He met me at the door. Engine died about an hour ago. I have been trying to get it started, but no luck. Craig climbed under the bus. Fuel pumps shot, but I can bypass it. Give me 20 minutes. 20 minutes. We had 28 minutes left. While Craig worked, Amanda went into the bus to check on people. I could hear her talking to them through the windows. Calm, professional, asking about injuries. Water, medication. Lily and Ethan were helping. They carried water bottles from car to car. Held flashlights for Craig while he worked. Kept people calm. This 8-year-old and her 5-year-old brother were helping evacuate strangers. And I couldn't even come up with a good excuse not to. Craig got the bus running at 5:39 a.m. 21 minutes left. I did quick math. We had 11 vehicles in our convoy now. Maybe 60 people, 30 miles to Grand Junction. We weren't going to make it, not all of us. I could drop the convoy, drive ahead with just the Thompson family. We would make it easily. Or I could stay with these 60 people and probably get all of us locked out. I looked at the convoy behind me. Families, kids, old people, regular folks who had just had the worst day of their lives. I made a decision. I hit the gas and drove faster than was safe or legal or smart. And I prayed that whatever God was in charge of zombie apocalypses might cut us a break. Mile 260, mile 265. Mile 270. We were doing 80-90. The convoy was struggling to keep up, but they managed. Mile 275, 10 minutes left. Mile 280, 8 minutes left. Mile 285, 6 minutes left. I could see the checkpoint ahead. Mile 300. Lights. Barricades. National Guard soldiers with rifles. They were closing the gate. No, Craig yelled. I laid on the horn. Long, loud, continuous. The soldiers looked up, saw us, saw the convoy. One of them, a sergeant, raised his hand. Hold the gate. They held it. We crossed at 5:57 a.m., 3 minutes to spare. 63 people, 11 vehicles, all through. Behind us, they closed and locked the gate. I pulled over, put my head on the steering wheel. We had done it. Actually done it. Craig was laughing. Amanda was crying. The kids were cheering. And I was sitting there trying to remember how to breathe. A soldier approached my window. You are the convoy that came from mile 247? Yeah. You are the last ones through. Gates closed. Anyone else is stuck outside. I know. You almost didn't make it. I know that too. He looked at the convoy behind me. All the vehicles. All the people. How many did you bring? 63. He wrote it down on a clipboard. Names. I gave him our information. Thompson family. 4 people. My name. The other families in the convoy gave theirs. You will need to go through processing, the soldier said. Medical screening. Quarantine protocol. Probably 24 hours before you are cleared. That is fine. Welcome to Grand Junction. Processing took 2 days. Not 1. They tested everyone for infection. Checked for bites, scratches, fever. Anyone who showed symptoms went into isolation. Everyone else went into temporary housing. The Thompson family and I ended up in the same section, small apartments. Barely furnished, but clean and safe. Lily and Ethan shared a room. Craig and Amanda took another. I got a small studio that reminded me painfully of my old apartment above the gas station. Connie ended up in the apartment next to mine, which I discovered when I heard her yelling at a National Guard private about the toilet not working. I evacuated from a zombie apocalypse in my bathrobe, she was saying. And I am not complaining about that. But I draw the line at non-functional plumbing. Fix it or find me someone who can. The private looked terrified. Madam, I can submit a work order. A work order? Do I look like I have time for work orders? The world ended 2 days ago and you are talking about bureaucracy? I stepped into the hallway. I can fix it. She turned to me. You again, the maybe serial killer? Still not a serial killer. But I do know how to fix toilets. She considered this. Fine. But I am still not convinced about the serial killer thing. I fixed her toilet in 10 minutes. Turned out the flush mechanism was stuck. Easy fix. Thank you, Connie said grudgingly. You are surprisingly useful for a gas station attendant. Thanks, I think. Don't let it go to your head. After that, Connie adopted me. I am not sure how it happened exactly. But suddenly I was having dinner at her place twice a week, listening to her complain about everything wrong with the refugee camp, while she cooked surprisingly good meals from the terrible commissary ingredients. This is reconstituted egg powder, she said. One evening, stirring a pan. In a civilized world, this would be a crime. But we are not in a civilized world anymore. So we make omelets. They are good omelets, I offered. Of course they are good. I am an excellent cook. I am just working with substandard materials. Craig and Amanda joined us sometimes. The kids loved Connie because she didn't talk down to them. She talked to them like tiny adults who happened to need juice boxes. Lily, Connie said one night, pass me the salt. Lily passed the salt. Mrs. Morrison, why do you always wear a bathrobe? Because I was evacuating in a hurry and these are the clothes I grabbed. Also, bathrobes are comfortable and I am too old to care what people think. My mom says you should care what people think. Your mom is wrong. Don't tell her I said that. Amanda tried to hide her smile. The days settled into a routine. Craig and I worked on the electrical grid. Amanda did shifts at the hospital. The kids went to school. Connie complained about everything while cooking excellent meals. But underneath the routine was the constant knowledge that the world outside the perimeter was still full of zombies. That people were still dying. That Grand Junction was just a temporary bubble of safety that could pop at any moment. Food was rationed. We got meal cards that entitled us to 3 meals a day from the commissary. But the portions were small, and the quality was questionable. Breakfast was usually oatmeal or reconstituted eggs. Lunch was sandwiches made from mystery meat. Dinner was pasta or rice with some kind of sauce. Water was carefully monitored. We each got 5 gallons per Dalton Yee for all purposes. Drinking, cooking, bathing, laundry. It sounds like a lot until you actually try to live on it. Showers became a luxury. Most people took one every other day. Some people pushed it to 3 days. The weather turned cold in late October. Colorado winters are no joke, and the refugee camp wasn't built for winter weather. People started getting sick. Colds, flu, bronchitis. The hospital was overwhelmed. Amanda came home one night, looking exhausted. We had 17 new respiratory cases today. We are running out of antibiotics. Can you get more? I asked. From where? The pharmaceutical supply chain collapsed with everything else. We are working with whatever medical supplies people evacuated with, plus whatever the military can spare. It is not enough. Lily developed a cough in early November. It started small, just a little tickle, but within 3 days she was running a fever and coughing so hard she couldn't sleep. Amanda brought her to the hospital. They diagnosed her with bronchitis and prescribed antibiotics, but they were running low. Lily only got a 5-day course when she really needed 10. I sat with her one evening while Amanda was at work. Lily was curled up in bed, coughing every few minutes, looking miserable. Tell me a story, she said. What kind of story about before when things were normal? I thought about it. Okay. When I was your age, my dad would take me camping in the mountains every summer. We would hike up to this lake, just the 2 of us, and camp for a weekend. No phones, no television, just us and the woods. What did you do? Fished, built fires, told stories, looked at stars. One time we saw a black bear walking through our camp. My dad made me climb a tree and stay there while he scared it off with pots and pans. Were you scared, terrified, but also excited? It felt like an adventure. I miss adventures, Lily said quietly. Now everything is just scary. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just held her hand until she fell asleep. The cough lasted 2 weeks. It left Lily weak and tired for another week after that. But she recovered. Not everyone did. Connie got sick in December. The same respiratory thing going around. But Connie was 68 years old and, as she put it, old enough to remember when cars didn't have seatbelts and nobody worried about it. She refused to go to the hospital. They are overwhelmed with actual emergencies. I am just old and cranky. I will recover, or I will not. That is not a plan, I said. It is exactly a plan. It is called not being a burden. You are not a burden. I am a 68-year-old woman with bronchitis in a refugee camp during the apocalypse. I am the definition of a burden. I brought her soup from the commissary, made sure she drank water, checked on her 3 times a day. Amanda stopped by when she could, bringing medicine she would quietly borrowed from the hospital. Nothing that would be missed, but enough to help. Connie recovered slowly. But she recovered. You are surprisingly persistent for a maybe serial killer, she told me. Still not a serial killer. I am starting to believe you. Christmas came. We didn't have much to celebrate with, but Connie organized a dinner for everyone in our section. 30 people crammed into the community room, eating commissary food that Connie and a few others had turned into something resembling a feast. Craig found a small Christmas tree. Ethan made decorations out of paper. Lily wrote everyone's names on little tags so we could exchange gifts, even though nobody had anything to give. The gift is survival, Connie declared. We are all alive. That is the gift. She was right, but it still felt inadequate. I gave Lily a notebook I had found in the supply room. She loved to draw, and paper was precious now. She gave me a drawing she had made. It showed a gas station with people standing around it holding hands. Above it she had written mile 247, where journeys continue. I hung it on my wall. New Year's came and went. 2025 began. The refugee camp population had stabilized at around 80,000 people. The National Guard had established a perimeter 20 miles out. Beyond that was contested territory, zombies, bandits, chaos. Inside the perimeter, we tried to build something like normal life. Schools expanded. The makeshift warehouse school became 3 warehouses. Teachers who had evacuated started real classes again. Math, science, history, English. Lily thrived. She was smart and curious and resilient. She made friends. She joined the art club. Ethan struggled more. He had nightmares, bad ones. Woke up screaming about zombies and running and being alone. Amanda held him most nights. Craig took him to the camp counselor, a psychologist who was seeing about 50 kids a week. It helped slowly, but Ethan was different now. Quieter, more clingy. He didn't want to be apart from his parents. I understood that. Loss changes you. Fear changes you. At 28, I was still dealing with losing my parents 6 years ago. Ethan was 5 and had lost his grandparents, his home, his entire world in one night. In January, I started volunteering with the rescue teams. The first time I went out, I was terrified. Leaving the perimeter meant entering the zone, the place where the infected roamed, where the rules didn't apply, where you could die. We drove out in armored trucks, 6 of us. Me, 2 National Guard soldiers, a medic, and 2 other volunteers. We headed west on Highway 70, looking for survivors. The highway was different now. Abandoned cars everywhere. Some burned out, some crashed, some just stopped mid-road like the drivers had vanished. We found our first survivor at mile 258. A man in his 40s living in his car. He had been there for 3 weeks, surviving on granola bars and rainwater he had collected. He was dehydrated, malnourished, but alive. We brought him back. Amanda treated him at the hospital. He recovered. That made me 64 people saved. The second time out, we found a group of 5 at mile 270. They had banded together, created a small camp in an abandoned rest stop. They had food they had scavenged from nearby stores, water from a stream, but they were exposed. Vulnerable. One bad day and they would be dead. We brought them back. 69 people. The third time out, we found nobody. Just empty cars, abandoned camps, signs that people had been there but were gone now. Maybe dead, maybe turned, maybe moved on to somewhere else. Craig started coming with me in February. He had gotten the training, gotten the clearance, gotten permission from Amanda, who hated the idea, but understood why he needed to do it. We save who we can, he said on our first trip out together. Right. We found a family at mile 275. Mother, father, teenage daughter. They had been surviving in a farmhouse off the highway, had chickens, a well, vegetable garden they had planted in the fall that was still producing in the greenhouse they had rigged up. They didn't want to come. We are safe here, the father said. We have food, water, shelter. Why would we leave? Because winter's coming, Craig said. Real winter. And when the first serious blizzard hits, you will be cut off. No help, no backup. If someone gets hurt or sick, you will die. We will take our chances. What about your daughter? They looked at their daughter. 16, blonde hair, scared eyes. Please, Dad, she said quietly. I want to go. I want to be somewhere safe. Really safe. They came. 72 people. Not everyone we found was grateful. Some people were angry, bitter. They had been surviving on their own for weeks or months. And here we were, offering them salvation they didn't ask for. We found a man at mile 263 who pulled a gun on us. Get back in your truck, he said. I don't need help, sir. We are just here to I know what you are here to do. You are here to take me to your camp. Lock me up, take my stuff, control me. That is not I survived this long on my own. I don't need you. One of the National Guard soldiers put his hand on his rifle. I touched his arm, shook my head. Okay, I said to the man. We will leave, but if you change your mind. The offer stands. Grand Junction. Mile 300. Safe zone. We left. 2 weeks later, the man showed up at the perimeter gate, half-starved, dehydrated. Infected had overrun his position. He lived barely. 73 people. March came. The weather warmed, spring arrived. The camp started expanding. More permanent structures, real buildings instead of tents. Schools that weren't warehouses, homes that felt like homes. Connie got an apartment. A real one. 2 bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom with plumbing that actually worked. This is civilization, she declared. Or at least a reasonable approximation. She invited me over for dinner. Cooked real food, not commissary rations. Real vegetables from the farms that were starting to produce. Real chicken from the coops they had established. How did you get this? I asked. I volunteered at the agricultural center. They gave me first pick. That is cheating. That is pragmatism. There is a difference. The Thompson family moved into a 3-bedroom apartment. Craig and Amanda got their own room. Lily and Ethan got separate rooms. They had furniture, pictures on the walls. It looked like a home. We still had Sunday dinners, every week. Usually at their place now. Connie joined us most weeks. Sometimes other families from our rescue missions. It became a thing, Sunday dinners with Silas. An open invitation. Anyone who wanted to come was welcome. We would have 15, 20 people sometimes, sitting around cramped tables, eating commissary food that Connie had transformed into something edible, talking, laughing, being human. One Sunday in April, Lily asked me, "Do you miss it, your old life?" I thought about my studio apartment above the gas station, my boring night shifts, my isolation. "No," I said. "I don't miss it at all." "Why not?" "Because I have this now. You guys, Sunday dinners, people who care." "Is that better?" "Yeah, it is better." She smiled. "Good." In May, I got a call from Douglas Morrison. "You still doing rescue missions?" he asked. "Yeah, 3 times a week. I have got some stranded people on my ranch, northeast of Grand Junction. About 40 miles out. Can you get to them?" "How many?" 27. Mixed group, some families, some singles. They have been here for 2 months, running low on supplies. Send me coordinates." We went out the next day. Me, Craig, Connie, who insisted on coming, 2 National Guard soldiers, and a medic. The ranch was huge, 1,000 acres. Douglas met us at the gate. He looked like Hank, same build, same weathered face. "Different eyes, Silas?" he asked. "Yeah, Hank told me about you, said you were good people. He said the same about you." We brought the 27 people back. Douglas came with them. "Cannot run a ranch alone," he said. "Not anymore. 100 people total now." The rescue missions continued through the summer. We found survivors in farmhouses, rest stops, abandoned stores, anywhere people could hole up and wait for help. Some trips we found nobody. Some trips we found several groups. It was unpredictable. But we kept going out. 3 times a week, sometimes more. By September, we had rescued 147 people. The camp population had grown to 90,000. More permanent housing was being built. Actual neighborhoods, streets with names. Semblance of normal life. Schools had real buildings now. Lily was in 4th grade. Ethan was in 1st grade. Both were thriving. Craig and I had started working on a project to expand the electrical grid, real power. Not just generators, actual infrastructure. Amanda was training new nurses. The hospital had expanded. They were still overwhelmed, but less so than before. Connie had become the camp's unofficial social coordinator. She organized dinners, game nights, movie screenings with a projector someone had brought. "Someone has to maintain civilization," she said. "Might as well be me." Life wasn't perfect. Resources were still tight. The zombie threat was still real. The perimeter was constantly under pressure. But we were alive. We were building something. We were surviving together. And that was enough. The math still doesn't work. 147 out of 500,000 is statistically insignificant. 0.0294%. Rounding error. Margin of statistical noise. But Lily was right. Each person matters. I know all 147 names. I keep a list, written in a notebook Connie gave me. Names, dates, where we found them, what condition they were in. Marcus Chen, mile 258. The 15th of January, dehydration, recovered. The Hendersons. Mile 270. The 22nd of January, 5 people. No major injuries. Sarah Kowalski, mile 263. The 3rd of February, broken leg, recovered. I read through it sometimes, usually late at night when I cannot sleep, when the weight of everything becomes too much. When I remember Hank, when I think about my parents, when I wonder if any of this matters, the names help. They remind me that it does matter, not statistically, not mathematically, but actually 147 people are alive. 147 families have someone who came home. 147 futures that would have ended didn't. That is not nothing. On a Tuesday in late September, almost a year after the outbreak, I went out on a routine rescue mission. Just me and a National Guard private named Jenkins, who was new to the team. We were checking mile 265 when we saw smoke. Not a lot. Just a thin trail rising from behind a hill about half a mile off the highway. "Should we check it out?" Jenkins asked. "Yeah, could be survivors." We drove off-road, following an old access road that wound through the hills. The smoke got thicker. Then we saw the source. A small cabin, chimney smoking. Looked maintained. Someone was definitely there. We approached carefully. Zombies weren't the only danger out here anymore. Some survivors had gone feral. Territorial. Dangerous. I knocked on the door. Silence. Knocked again. "Hello. We are from Grand Junction. We are here to help." More silence. Then the sound of a bolt sliding back. The door opened. An old man stood there, 70-something, shotgun in hand, but not pointing it at us, just holding it. "You are from the safe zone?" he asked. "Yeah, Grand Junction. We are on a rescue mission. Are you alone?" "Number got my wife inside. She is sick, been sick for weeks. Can you help? We brought them back." The wife had pneumonia, treatable with antibiotics. If you had antibiotics, which she didn't. But we did. Amanda treated her. She recovered 148 people. The old man's name was Robert. His wife was Margaret. They had been married 52 years. Lived in that cabin for 30 years. Planned to die there. "But not like this," Robert said. "Not with Margaret sick and no help coming." They moved into the camp, got an apartment near Connie. Within a week, Margaret and Connie were best friends, which made sense because they were both opinionated women who didn't suffer fools. Robert started volunteering at the wood shop. Turned out he was an excellent carpenter. Made furniture for new arrivals, taught classes. Kept busy. "Cannot just sit around," he told me. "Man's got to be useful." In October, a full year after the outbreak, the camp held a memorial service. For everyone who didn't make it, for the world that was gone, for the life we had lost. 90,000 people showed up, the entire population of Grand Junction's safe zone. We gathered in the central square, which had been a parking lot a year ago, and was now an actual town square with a fountain and everything. Names were read, too many names. People cried, held each other, remembered. Lily read a poem she had written, about her grandparents, about losing them, about being scared, about finding hope anyway. Craig stood up and talked about his parents in Florida, about not knowing if they had survived, about choosing to believe they had until proven otherwise. Amanda talked about her colleagues at the hospital in Denver, about the doctors and nurses who stayed behind to help the injured, who knew they probably wouldn't make it, who stayed anyway. Connie read a list of names, people who had died in the camp, from sickness, from injuries, from old age, from the weight of everything. I stood up and talked about Hank. Hank Morrison was a truck driver, I said. Drove long-haul routes for 30 years. Stopped at my gas station every Tuesday night. We had talk about nothing: sports, weather, the broken coffee machine. He was the last person to warn me about the outbreak, told me to run, told me I couldn't save everyone, told me not to die trying. I didn't listen. I stayed. I tried to save people. And because I did, 63 people made it to safety that first night. Those 63 people helped save 84 more. We are at 148 now. Hank died trying to reach his daughter in California. I don't know what happened. Don't know if he made it. But I know he tried. And that matters. Trying matters. Even when it doesn't work, even when you don't make it. The trying is what makes us human. After the memorial, Lily found me. That was good. What you said about Mr. Hank. Thanks. Do you think he would have been proud of what you did? I hope so. I think he would have been. She handed me a drawing. Hank semi-truck, mile 247 in the background. Above it she had written heroes come in all forms. I hung it next to the other drawing on my wall. November brought the first serious snow. Colorado winters are brutal. And this year was no exception. 3 feet fell in 2 days. Power grid struggled. Heating was rationed. People died from the cold, mostly elderly. Mostly people who were already sick. We did what we could, but sometimes what you can do isn't enough. Robert and Margaret made it through barely. They spent 3 days basically living in Connie's apartment because it was warmer. This is absurd, Connie declared. We survive zombies only to be killed by weather. To be fair, I said, weather's been killing people longer than zombies have. That doesn't make it better. Fair point. Rescue missions stopped during the worst of the winter. Too dangerous. Roads were impassable. Visibility was nil. Anyone still alive out there would have to wait for spring. We used the time to fortify. The perimeter got stronger. The walls got higher. Guards got more training. Plans were made for the next wave if it came. In January, we celebrated 1 year of survival in Grand Junction. The camp threw a party, music, dancing. Food that Connie and her crew had somehow made edible. Lily was 9 now. Ethan was 6. Both growing up in a world that was fundamentally different from the one I had grown up in. They had never known a world without zombies, without fear, without the perimeter. But they would also known kindness, community, people helping each other. Sunday dinners with neighbors who would become family. Maybe that was enough. In February, the snow melted. Roads cleared. Rescue missions resumed. We found a group of 17 at mile 281. They had survived the winter in an old ski lodge, had snowshoes, hunting rifles, a creek that never froze completely. They didn't want to come. We are doing fine, their leader said. A woman named Patricia, mid-50s, capable, smart. Winter's over, I said. But next winter will be worse, the one after that even worse. Eventually you will run out of something. Food, fuel, medicine, hope. We will take our chances. What about the kids? Craig asked, gesturing to the 3 children in the group. Patricia looked at the kids, looked at her group, looked back at us. You promise it is safe, the camp? Safe as anywhere can be. That is not exactly reassuring. Number, but it is honest. They came, 165 people. In March, Lily turned 9. We threw her a birthday party, real cake. Connie made it from scratch using flowers she had saved for 2 months. This is the best birthday I have ever had, Lily said. Better than before? I asked. When the world was normal. This is normal now. And yes, this is better, because you are all here. She invited 20 kids from school. They played games, told stories, acted like kids should act. For one afternoon, there were no zombies, no perimeter, no fear. Just kids being kids. It was perfect. In April, Craig and I finished the electrical grid expansion project. Real power, consistent power. Not just for essentials, but for everything. Lights stayed on, refrigerators ran. Computers worked for the first time in a year. Life felt a little bit normal. The camp celebrated. We had gone from a refugee camp to something resembling a town. Streets had names, buildings had addresses. There was a library, a school, a hospital, shops, restaurants. It wasn't Denver, but it was home. In May, Amanda got promoted to head nurse at the hospital. She was running a staff of 40 nurses now, training new ones, building protocols, creating systems. It is almost like a real hospital, she said. Minus the zombies outside and the constant supply shortages. Progress, I said. Yeah, progress. Ethan finished first grade. He had made friends, stopped having nightmares every night, was smiling more. He still had bad days, still woke up scared sometimes, still needed his parents close, but he was healing, slowly, in the way that trauma victims heal. One day at a time, in June, rescue teams found a settlement at mile 295, 200 people. They had built an entire community in an old shopping mall, had farming, livestock, security. They had been surviving on their own for a year, doing well, but they were isolated, cut off. When we explained about Grand Junction, about the safe zone, about the community we were building, they listened. Most of them came. Not all. Some wanted to stay, keep their independence. We didn't force them. But 170 joined us. Combined with our existing population, Grand Junction now had over 90,000 people, a city, an actual city, not a refugee camp. A city. In July, I got a letter. It had come through the military postal service, which was slowly being re-established. The envelope was worn dirty, like it had traveled a long way. The return address said Sarah Morrison, California. I opened it with shaking hands. Dear Silas, you don't know me, but I am Hank, Morrison's daughter. The military found my father's body in Nevada. He had been trying to reach me, didn't make it. They found a note in his pocket, instructions to contact me. Tell me what happened. They did. They also told me about you, about how my father stopped at your gas station, how he warned you, how he gave you my Uncle Douglas's contact information. I wanted to thank you for being my father's friend, for being someone he cared about enough to try to protect. My father talked about you sometimes. In the few phone calls we had before the outbreak, he said you reminded him of me alone hurting, trying to figure out how to live again. He would have been proud of what you did, saving all those people, building a life, finding family. I am proud of you too, even though we have never met. If you ever make it to California, look me up. I would like to meet the man my father called a good kid. Stay safe, Sarah. I read that letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer next to the photos of my parents and the drawings. Lily had made me evidence that I had mattered to someone. Evidence that I had done something right. In August, I celebrated my 29th birthday. Connie made me a cake. The Thompson family threw me a party. 30 people showed up. I realized, looking around the room, that I had friends, real friends. People who cared, people who showed up a year and a half ago. I had been a night shift gas station attendant with 0 friends, 0 family, and 0 prospects. Now I had this. It wasn't the life I had planned, but it was the life I had built. And it was good in September. 2 years after the outbreak, I went back to mile 247. Not to stay, just to see. Craig came with me. Connie insisted on coming too, armed with her can of mace and a baseball bat she had acquired somewhere. I want to see where it all started, she said. We drove out with a National Guard escort, 2 trucks, 8 armed soldiers. The highway was different now, cleaner. The abandoned cars had been pushed to the sides. Zombie bodies had been cleared. Nature was reclaiming everything. We reached mile 247 at noon. The gas station was still there, burned, ruined. But there, the pumps were gone. The building was scorched. The parking lot was cracked and overgrown. But the structure stood. We got out of the trucks, walked through the ruins. I found my old booth. The bulletproof glass was still intact. Scorched but intact. I found the bathroom where the first infected had turned. Door still locked. I found the storage room where I had given the Thompsons blankets. "This is where you saved us," Craig said quietly. Yeah. Lily had come too. She was 11 now. Tall, smart. Still asking hard questions. She walked through the ruins, touching things carefully. The counter, the remains of the pumps, the scorched concrete. "This is important," she said. "This place, this is where you chose." Chose what? To help. You could have stayed isolated. Could have let us die. Could have run away. But you chose to help. And that changed everything. She was right. This was the place where everything changed, where I stopped being the guy who watched from behind bulletproof glass, where I became someone who opened doors, who helped, who cared. We stayed for an hour. Then we left. On the drive back, Connie asked, "Do you regret it, blowing it up? The gas station? Your old life? Destroying it? Starting over?" I thought about my studio apartment, my boring shifts, my isolation. "No," I said. "I don't regret it at all." "Good," she said, "because that would be stupid." Back in Grand Junction, life continued. The town kept growing. The population reached 100,000, schools expanded. The hospital doubled in size. Commerce started happening again. People were trading, working, building. Someone opened a restaurant. Someone else opened a bookstore. Someone started a newspaper. Civilization was coming back. Different than before, smaller. More careful, but coming back. I kept doing rescue missions, 3 times a week. Sometimes more. We found fewer people as time went on. Most survivors had either made it to safe zones or died trying. But we kept looking. In October, we found a young woman at mile 273, 20 years old. Alone, she had been surviving by herself for 2 years. "Why didn't you come to Grand Junction sooner?" I asked. Didn't know it existed. Thought I was alone. Thought everyone was dead. We brought her back. She was number 192. Last week, we found a family at mile 268. Parents, 3 kids. They had been living in an RV for 2 years. Moving when they had to, hiding when they couldn't move. "We are so tired," the mother said. "We cannot keep doing this." "You don't have to," I told her. "There is a place. It is safe. It is not perfect, but it is home." They came. Number 196. Today is the 15th of October, 2026. 2 years exactly since the outbreak. I am standing at mile 247 again. This time with a construction crew we are rebuilding. Not the gas station, that is gone forever. We are building a rest stop, a place for travelers, for people moving between safe zones, for survivors still making their way west. It will have food, water, medical supplies, shelter. It will be called Morrison's Rest Stop, named after Hank. The sign is going up today. Lily designed it, painted it herself. Mile 247, where journeys continue. I watched the workers install the sign. Craig supervising the construction. Amanda's setting up the medical bay. Connie's arguing with someone about the kitchen layout. Ethan and Lily are playing in the dirt, like kids do. Like kids should do. This is home now. Not the building. The people. My phone rings. It is Douglas. "Silas, we have got reports of survivors at mile 285. Group of 12. You want to take this one?" "Yeah, I will take it. Be careful out there. Always am." I hang up. Look at the sign one more time. Mile 247. Where journeys continue. Yeah, that is about right. I walk to my truck. Craig sees me. "Another mission?" Yeah, mile 285, group of 12. Want company? Always. He grabs his gear. We load into the truck. As we pull onto Highway 70, I think about that night 2 years ago. About the choice I made. About opening that door. About stopping when I could have kept driving. I made the right choice, not because it saved the most people. Math doesn't work that way. I made the right choice because it saved the people in front of me. And those people helped save others. And those others helped save more. 196 people so far. But the number doesn't matter as much as the principle. Someone helps. Then someone else helps. Then someone else. That is how we survive. That is how we rebuild. That is how we keep going. My name is Silas Rowan. I am 29 years old. I used to work nights at a gas station because I didn't want to see people. Now I work days because I do. And every person I help, every person I save, every person I connect with, proves that I made the right choice that night 2 years ago. Not the smart choice, not the safe choice, the right choice. And I would make it again every single time.